So can you tell us a bit about badgers, their habitats and their behaviours?
What can't I tell you? I've been studying badgers since I was 7. First time I ever saw a badger, I climbed up a tree with my dad's torch. I was so amazed by what I saw, I dropped the torch on the poor animal's head. It was rubber coated, so it didn't suffer any effects, and badgers weren't protected in those days. They're basically the largest member of the Mustelidae, the weasel family. They have a social life which basically normally centres around an underground structure called a set, which is, by the way, one of the oldest names for an animal's home in the English language. And badger itself, well, you can sum it up really by saying that badger comes from the French word bêcher. It means to dig. I've got a couple of little cubs at the moment, and those little cubs whose mum got knocked over on the road last night were happily trying to dig out of their enclosure. It's instinctive. They live in social groups. They are omnivores. You name it, they'll eat it. The only things they don't like are garlic and very strong curry, and I know that from captive badgers. They will take on bees and wasps and ants. They will take young rabbits. They'll take mice and rats. But their main diet is earthworms, slugs, snails and soil invertebrates. And they are highly intelligent animals which are able to problem solve. I could give you lots of examples of that, but the best thing to say is that near Sittingbourne, they actually worked out how to climb not one stile in a fence, but then the next stile that was 20 feet away. And somebody somewhere has pictures of that. They can hurt you. They are very powerful animals. They can easily move a 60-pound rock out of the way. And badgers also have very loose skin, very, very, very strong, tightly hinged and muscled jaws, and they have sets of front legs in particular that are, well, armed with razor-sharp claws. So whatever you do, if you find a badger and it's injured, please do not do what the lady on Dover Hill did some years ago, which is put it in the back of your car, because it woke up and got under the passenger seat and we had to cut it out with the fire brigade's help. Please give the badger group a ring, or the RSPCA, police, and other people have our numbers, and East Kent Badger Group also has a website.
Excellent. And what kind of action does the East Kent Badger Group take to protect badgers?
We do a number of things. We monitor developments, which is important in this part of the world. Badger sets sort of get, well, not forgotten, but they very often are in development sites, and we need to make sure that they're looked after. The Badger Group also keeps an intelligence database that keeps an eye on such things as, for example, badger digging and illegal persecution, snaring and so on. We work closely with the police and the RSPCA. We try hard to get people to be aware of the fact that there is the Badger Group. It's out there. It's manned by volunteers. It's free. We offer a free service to help you. We can't always pay for what you need, but we will help you. So if you've got a badger in your back garden, give us a ring. If you've got a badger digging underneath your house, which your insurance company may not really want to pay for, give us a ring. And if you suspect that anything odd is going on, also give us a ring.
Do you think badger culling is necessary?
The short answer, quite honestly, Emma, is no. We've had a number of trials that have shown that bovine TB can be spread in a number of other ways. And abroad, we've discovered that bovine TB can be spread by, for example, bad husbandry, other species of animals, etc. So I suspect that we're actually looking at a multifaceted thing that's probably a little bit of everything. The badgers are part of a triangle that involves all of these things and possibly more.
Could you tell us a bit about the randomised badger culling trials that took place between 1998 and 2005?
Clearly, the cattle had reactions to bovine TB, and trial was basically to see whether or not statistically, and it all comes down to statistics, whether or not bovine TB and lack of badgers really was a factor. The influence being that the badgers were the main spreader of TB. The trials really didn't come up with as much as we would have liked, but they did really show that badgers are not necessarily the only vector of TB amongst cattle. So the trial, basically said, look, we've got a long way to go, but badgers are not necessarily just the only guilty ones. We need to look at other things. And this, for example, is what promoted the discussion that perhaps we should be looking at animal husbandry, which in some other areas has, for example in Wales, has slowed down bovine TB growth amongst cattle populations.
What is animal husbandry?
Animal husbandry is basically, to talking of somebody who did it when he was about 15, is basically how you look after the animals, how you muck them out, how you feed them, how you deal with their injuries.
And what is your opinion on the proposed culling of badgers in Gloucestershire and Somerset?
It's wrong. For two reasons, not just because as an ecologist and the president of the local badger group, I have a soft spot for badgers, but also because at the end of the day, we've always in this country had a sense of fairness, i.e. that somebody is innocent until proven guilty. I think the culling has polarised people, and I worry a great deal about what it will do to the countryside as a whole.
And has Kent ever had a badger cull?
No, never. The reasons for that are probably straightforward. If you go into the most affected areas of the West Country, traditionally the cattle industry there was, as it were, fed by animals that were brought over cheaply from Ireland, where there's always been a reservoir of bovine TB. So Wales and the West Country were cattle rearing areas. We're not in the same way.
What do you think are some alternatives to badger culling, things that we can do other than that?
There are quite a few alternatives. In Wales at the moment, they've improved husbandry, so badger access to cattle and to cattle food and other things is limited. Obviously, that's difficult to do in fields, I quite understand that. And they've also started injecting badgers, basically giving them a jab against bovine TB. Now, there are a number of ways of doing this, and so far it's catch the animals and inject them, which is a difficult process. If you've ever tried to handle a live badger, I can only say that you will not enjoy it. But it does seem to be working. We've also got some evidence to suggest that, for example, they say that providing mineral licks for badgers and improving cow nutrition will also help. I think those are probably things that we need to explore further, because I've got the impression that bovine TB isn't a straightforward thing.
And do you think farmers shoot badgers illegally to keep numbers down?
Some farmers do, and I've got evidence of it in Kent. All I can say is that we generally find out who they are sooner or later. They're classic mode. Recently, for example, there were 6 shot badgers that were dumped in a row along a road near Dover. 6 dead badgers on a road in less than a mile is extremely unusual as a result of a road traffic accident, or RTA. If I was a farmer, I would be tremendously upset to lose my herd that I might have spent generations rearing just because of bovine TB. But that does not, I'm afraid, excuse what we're finding now, which is illegal persecution of badgers.
And if people need to find out any more information, do you know where they can go to get that?
Yeah, we've got a website, and it's East Kent Badger Group, all one word, .org.uk. We don't bite, unlike our animals.
Excellent. Thank you very much. It's been lovely having you here today.
Thank you very much.